Oh God, this guy.
Hey, welcome back to Apologies for Today's Study. We're going to be doing Spark Brushell's third testimony. This is his third testimony.
Actually, I took a bit of work to get a thumbs up in the interview. Reporter leverages story gets his interview. End quote. The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. That red envelope probably had something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare.
So you threatened to go to press with this story? That's how you got your interview? Blackmail?
Well, yes. I mean, no. It wasn't exactly black. I mean, I'm not.
Something wrong, Mr. Brushell?
Look. This is my story, my tidbit. Journalist info is livelihood, end quote.
I see.
Well, you had me chatting away and hear what's going on out there. What if some Wally Wordsmith or Sally Scooper gets wind of my story, They could be going to press while I'm going to waste.
The court feels your pain, Mr. Brushell. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace.
A certain case 7 years ago. Wait. 7 years ago?
Oh,
Alright, I'm gonna be perceiving something, so what statement do I want to perceive?
Actually,
it took a bit of work to get the thumbs up on the interview. Reporter who leverages story gets its interview, end quote. The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. That red envelope probably had something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare.
Well, 7 years ago? That statement?
No, it's not that. It's not this one, no.
Okay.
I'll press it just in case. A certain case 7 years ago. Tell us! What case?!
Let me state one thing, Mr. Attorney, and you can take me on this.
I could quote you on that.
You could quote me on this. I can't talk about that case,
Well, why not?
It's about journalistic pride and staunchness and credibility and connections, Journalists reveal sources only over his dead body, end quote. So what'll it be? Gonna strangle me? Dead man, don't tell tales, Mr. Attorney.
He sounds very determined not to talk.
Chances of breaking his will aren't looking good.
So
what are we trying to get out of him here? Just an inconsistency, that's all?
I would say that he is hinting at something like if okay, to progress this case, he knows something that he shouldn't know.
Okay.
So actually it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up on the interview. Reporter leverages story gets his interview, end quote. The red envelope probably had something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare.
Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. I mean, the only thing he could know out of that would be... He knew more about... I mean, the envelope? What was in the envelope? We know what was in the envelope.
Yeah.
It was an old letter from 7 years ago.
Yeah, and what was the letter pertaining to?
It was pertaining to, oh shit, the money?
Yeah, and what was the money for?
The money was for, wasn't it like hush money or something?
No.
What was it again?
It was payment. For what? For what job?
Payment for, shit, I forgot. Payment for,
Drew Misham did a job. What was this job?
Oh shit. He, hold on, I gotta recalibrate my brain here.
Yeah.
He,
don't worry about that. There's the poison.
Okay, yeah.
There was a hidden painting.
Oh, right, yes. Oh, so he drew something. He drew, what did he draw? Oh yeah, he was forging.
It was payment to forge a painting.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So think to yourself, when he's talking about, say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare, what is he talking about?
He's talking about, like, listen, I mean, he was forging paintings, but he had so much, he knows that he's forging paintings, which we're not supposed to know that.
Oops, that was the wrong thing. Just how amazing was Mr. Mission's talent?
Huh? Oh, wee boy, I mean, hey, he's a star, man, a star, The flow of his brush is like a great undulating river across the canvas, Artists paint light up studio like sun, end quote.
The sky is full of wacky gestures, but that one just now was wackier than usual.
He looks kind of nervous to me, Apollo.
Definitely. I'm sensing something different than before here. Maybe it's time to bring out you-know-what.
That testimony left a bad taste in my mouth.
It all makes sense. Nothing jumps out as ridiculous.
I wonder what this story he's talking about is. It must have been good to get an interview with a famous recluse like that.
Something powerful enough to drag Drew Misham out of hiding. I wonder, maybe it had something to do with Mr. Misham's art. Alright, let me go back over there. Okay, so which statement is the suspicious one?
The last one. Yeah.
Was without compare?
Without compare. Oh wait, no.
Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare.
Yeah, let's hear it again. What the hell is his tick?
You don't see it right now. Just tell me which statement is the most suspicious.
Say what you... I mean, the say what you will is the damning part, honestly, because it's like, Drew's talent was without compare. If he didn't know that he was a forger, he'd be like, oh, he's got great talent. But he says, say what you will, but...
Okay, what is the thing that is making him nervous, though? Okay, so you figured that out, that he knows about Drew, he's a forger. All right. So when he's talking about this statement, what would make him nervous? Talking about. Not say what
him
you
as
will.
Him as a
forger. Okay.
Yeah. So what would make him nervous when talking about it when he's not supposed to know that he's not supposed to know he's a forger?
Yeah. Nobody knows that he's a forger. Only Emma Sky and we know.
So what part of this would make him nervous when saying this under oath?
Yeah.
Well, if he's trying, like, saying that is a weird fucking statement to make, period. Say what you will. But Drew's talent was...
He's trying to make it seem like he's talking about him being an artist, rather than him being a forger.
Right. So he has talent. But Drew's talent... was without compare. Except he literally was ripping off paintings.
Alright, fine, I'll just show you the answer then. He was just not committing to an answer. Gonna be back down here.
His armpit literally gets sweatier.
Yeah.
And he says, but Drew's talent.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Because he's talking about Drew's talent. When he says Drew's talent, he's talking about forgery, but he wants us to think he's talking about his artistry.
His art. Ah, I gotcha. Okay.
Sweat much, Mr. Bushel?
Oh, yeah, well, a man can't help his glands, you know. It's more
than that. When Mr. Bisham's talent was mentioned, you suddenly began to sweat buckets.
Yeah.
You're hiding something about his talent!
That's ridiculous,
Evidence time. Let's show where Mr. Bisham's true talent lay. It just so happens I have evidence showing the talent mentioned in that letter.
The painting.
It's a hand painting. Yeah. And it was the other one or not. This painting was found in Mr. Bisham's studio. There are two problems with this painting. The first it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. The second is that there was another painting in the studio, which looked exactly like this one, except it was only half done. Then we have the letter discussing a payment of $100,000, which suggests a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries.
Yeah. Oh no.
That is all, Your Honor.
Everyone, please, everyone. Can we keep this private, please? This is my story, my scoop.
Forgery, that's a serious crime.
Drew Misham is known as an artist these days, but there were rumors he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back.
Another art, meaning forgery?
Drew Misham was talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. A fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover.
Criminal elements? What? You can't seriously be talking about...
Exactly. I'm talking about forging evidence. The rumor started circulating 7 years ago.
7 years ago? So are we to understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for...
Exactly. Forged evidence nets tidy profit, end quote.
Order, order, order! Why, it's like our victim was living a double life.
Aha! This is my chance. So the victim had ties to the criminal world, right? He could have had plenty of enemies we know nothing about. This is my first time hearing of this criminal world. We certainly found no criminal connections when we concluded our investigation. But how do you explain all the money? This money? You have to admit there's a possibility of some illegal activity here. But there's no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was and remains simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course.
Hey. The only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing reviews.
Mr. Brushel, your testimony to this point has been quite unreliable. It doesn't speak well of your reporting acumen.
What are you talking about? My journalism's rock solid. Journalism so solid you could stand an elephant on it, end quote.
In any case, let's hear a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation is that studio, from the recap, the trial is over.
Paulo, what's he talking about?
Cross-examination showed Mr. Brushel didn't have reason or means to poison him. As long as there are no other suspects, then the killer had to have been Vera. That's what. This next testimony is our last chance.
Mr. Brushel, your testimony, please.
The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the copy. She admitted as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. And nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the one who could have poisoned him was his daughter.
A nice testimony. Clear, succinct, and without room for doubt.
Oh, shucks. You really think so?
No.
I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice, you may begin your final cross-examination.
Right. I still have one trump card left to play. And I won't let this trial end until I use it. The one and only person in the studio that night was the defendant. But that doesn't prove Vera poisoned it! How many times have we heard that one there, forehead? The poison reached its victim via that coffee mug. And from where did that coffee come, Not to beat a dead horse again and again, but perhaps you could fill us in.
I'm on it. You need a horse speed. I'm your man.
It was Vera who poured the coffee. She admitted as much herself. And you witnessed her pouring the coffee.
Of course I didn't witness it. When she came in with that tray, the coffee was already poured and steaming.
Let's not forget the defendant has admitted to pouring the coffee herself. I heard her statement. I thawed, I served, and I killed. What? That last part was a little joke. I don't think I'm gonna get anywhere with this coffee mug. I need to find another weak spot in this case. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. And my mug. You sure about that?
Well, to be really, really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time.
One of those candies might have been poisoned! Yet, at this time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrance of mint filled the room. And no mint residue was found. It was a long shot anyway. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee?
Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof...
The possibility is there. I can feel it. Just maybe not prove it. Just maybe not proven, not yet. And possibility isn't going to cut it, not now. Mr. Bishop ingested that poison via a route other than that coffee. Alright, let's look at the evidence then. Alright, so...
No.
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 Here's a coffee cup, and we're saying that it's something else other than this. The painting, the red envelope. Mr. Drew Bishop, I deposited 100,000 in the designated account. Please send a receipt once you confirm the transfer. Sign the papers and send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. I do not remind you to speak of this to no one. Letterbox. The tiny frame. We did find poison here. Portrait, don't care about the portraits. And the autopsy was death by poisoning.
It was on the stamp.
Okay. Proof is possible. I gotta risk it.
Oh, excellent. Let's see your proof then. Bucko, please show us your evidence. What evidence shows that the victim wasn't poisoned via his coffee mug? What the hell? I was wrong.
Must explain this over and over. We don't need possibilities here, Ford. We need proof. I know that. You should also know that every point of proof has its moments. Perhaps you were a bit early.
Tell that we know at this point. I can tell you what we know at this point. The victim put nothing in his mouth but that coffee mug, except you licked stamps!
Another hole in this case that I need plugging before I can prove anything. But first things first. But uncover a weak spot before I try to strike again. Oh, I picked the wrong one. Oops. Which one did I pick?
The frame.
I picked the frame?
Yeah.
I meant to pick the letter.
Oh, shit.
Alright, oh well, we'll do the rest of these. And nothing left that studio after he died, nothing. That one thing? You're sure?
Yup, sure can be. Well, with one exception. One exception, what? Journalist Spark Brushel does interview leave studio, end quote. Come on, it's a joke. Get it? Not funny, I know, but still.
Did something leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard something like that before?
Now that we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts, I'd like to turn to our defense attorney before returning to the testimony. Do you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Just
A
one bit.
letter.
A letter.
A letter with a stamp on it.
Oh, I think one thing might very well have left the studio that night, actually. A certain something that has vanished from the crime scene.
By which you mean something other than a witness?
Of course. Don't tell me. Vera Misham? Believe me, any comic relief I might provide is entirely unintentional.
Then let's see what you've got for us, Mr. Justice.
Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show it to you. But I do have evidence that shows how it could have been taken from the scene.
I wasn't there at the crime scene, but we have it?
No, we don't.
Oh.
We're saying I have evidence that shows how it
something
could be
inside
taken.
the frame!
Mack. Oh my god.
What?
Oh my god. What did you just say?
The letter!
Yes.
The stamp!
How do we take away letters from a crime scene?
We put it in a fucking box!
The mailbox! Yes!
Yeah.
You put a letter in the mailbox!
Yeah, but I'm confused now!
No! This is the only... He's just saying that, oh, we don't have the letter because it's gone, but there's a way you can send letters using the mailbox!
The Pony Express!
Yes! This has been a system we've been using since the 1800s! This is the only link between that world and the outside world! The studio and the outside world!
A letterbox?
What did Mr. Bushel just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter.
Yeah, I said that, and yeah, it was true. I had.
Furthermore, you went on to tell us that he put the letter in the yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox.
Ah!
But that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night, the yellow envelope disappeared. Yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing. Huh?
He has a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Misham. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared?
Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. That seems very important to me.
Very well then, the witness will add this to his testimony.
You got it, you betcha.
I still think this fails to change anything that it. I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for.
A letter was put in the post from the studio, but I hardly think that matters.
Nothing could be more serious than an envelope disappearing from that studio. And you were hiding that fact from us!
Oh, yes. Well, actually,
I don't argue the possibility that the letter disappeared from that studio. But therefore, isn't there a much more serious question before us? Right. How Mr. Misham was poisoned, I know. But Mr. Bushel's testimony has changed, which means the fact that the case have too. And what he's told us means something entirely different now. I'm starting to think.
Let's keep thinking, Apollo.
Okay.
Clearly, the one who a letter was put in post office studio, I hardly think that matters. The only thing I touched through his lips during the interview was that Mack. It was very important.
I believe that's it, yeah. You sure about that? Yeah. Yep. Yet, autopsy, mint residue, don't victim drink? Well, justice, yes, yes. Mr. Bisham, just, yes, I can prove it. Proof is possible. Here goes nothing. You do understand what we need, yeah? Proof, for it, not possibilities. Of course. And, Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof. What did you say? I have proof of the disappearing envelope.
I saw him writing a letter, I did.
Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume?
Of course, which means that envelope had a stamp on it.
A stamp? Ah!
As we all know, stamps come with dried glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it by licking the stamp!
Oh my god!
No one was talking to actually lick stamps in this day and age. Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't! He's dead, after all. Okay, so he licked the stamp. But wait, how does that explain the etrucanine on the rim of the coffee mug? Man. If he licked the back of a poison stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes? That would then what would then happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth? Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing, it was the other way around!
What?
The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Bisham. Mr. Bisham poisoned the coffee mug himself!
Order, holy fucking shit, but that doesn't mean, does it?
Recall, if you would. Atrichonine is a slow-acting poison, yes? The poison entered his body when he put the stamp on that envelope, but his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lips to that cup of joe.
What? You have something to add, Mr. Brushel?
Uh-oh. His nose is picking up another scent.
As I believe I mentioned earlier. Well, that's a thanksy. After he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote. But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one.
Maybe he'd just run out?
Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps. Not a single one.
Well, it does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated with poison?
Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. It makes proving the stamp he used was poison possible. Good show, good show. You can't even prove that there was a stamp at the scene in the first place.
Well, let's hear what the defense has to say, anyway. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of this poison stamp? Well, it says there's in the letter. There's some stamps included in this. Just use the stamp that was included.
Okay. But how do we know that was poisoned?
I'll tell you how we know it was poisoned.
Hmm?
Because if it's not, then we're at a fucking stalemate in the game.
Okay. Well, you kind of have to tell me.
It's common sense.
It's common sense that every stamp.
If he didn't have a stamp, anybody, but there was a stamp mentioned in the letter that he didn't open for 7 years.
Yeah.
And he dies, it's because he was poisoned with the stamp that he licked.
Yeah. But how do we know that that stamp was poisoned?
Because he had the stamp on the frame. Well, that certainly is a cute little frame. I'd love to put my little Winnie on it, and by little I mean really little.
It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I noticed that too during my inspection. So what?
I'm still a rock star.
Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important.
Missing something?
Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. A trichonine residue! What? Why wasn't I told about this? The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller, maybe an inch wide at most. You're insane. Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps?
Order, order, order! The poison stamp was in this frame.
Impossible!
Prosecutor Gavin?
Why would he have put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood struck.
You know, can I say something? I had a thought, see.
And you'll have that thought in?
The next episode.
So thank you for watching this episode of Apologize, make sure to like and subscribe and above and over, which is
every single day.
Goodbye.